You're listening to episode 86 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Dali Schonfelder.
And it's all about just like putting everything you have out there, and people will step up and support you. You know, don't be scared to put yourself out there.
Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Han, and welcome to the Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we dive into what makes an awesome lifestyle. From relationships to money mindset, nutrition to fitness, emotional health to peak performance, we bring you on an amazing journey to unleashing your human potential. So everyone, we've got a really special guest today. She's only 17, so you're going to have to give her some love. Her name is Dali Schonfelder, and her family have traveled to India, to a rural village in the outskirts of Mumbai. They do this yearly. The year Dali turned 13, she returned to find that her friends are out of school as the government stops paying for uniforms once students reach the age of 12. Students who cannot afford the mandatory uniform are forbidden to attend school and can no longer receive an education. Wanting to do something to help her friends, together with her younger brother Finn, they founded Nalu, a clothing company that gives school uniforms with the sale of every 4 products. To date, they have given over 8,000 uniforms across India, Kenya, and Indonesia, and have another 5,000 scheduled this year alone. Their goal is to scale to give 2,000 uniforms per month by the year 2020. Their impact has been tremendous. Not only are more students attending school, but academic performance has increased, teenage pregnancy has decreased. That's pretty amazing. Nalu employs local tailors to manufacture their uniforms, ensuring the full cycle sustainability of their impact within the community they live. They opened their first store in Bali in 2015, and in 2017 launched the Academy, which is an online school teaching and empowering youth through social entrepreneurship. Dali now attends Parsons in New York City, studying fashion design while growing her brand in the New York market. Dali is passionate about inspiring the younger generation to take action on the causes they believe in and in playing their part to help make a better tomorrow. Her dream is to see the world where every child has access to an education. So without further ado, here's Dali. Everybody, we've got an awesome guest today. This is Dali from the clothing company Nalu. She is awesome. She's the founder. This is a really cool girl. And how old are you, Dali?
I'm 17 right now.
So she's 17. Everybody, pay attention to that. She's 17. So she's an entrepreneur. She's a student, right? This is pretty crazy. So this is going to be a really cool, interesting conversation. So make sure your volume is up and you're listening. So Dali, let's hear a little bit about your story, because I was very fortunate to meet your parents when they were in New York, and then meeting you after. You guys have a really cool story, like even as a family, but your journey is really cool into Nalu as well. So you want to give a little background?
Yes, of course. But first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here to share my story with you guys. And I'm really happy that we got to meet and that we're here now today. So yeah, let's just dive straight into it, I guess.
Yeah.
So me personally, I'm half Dutch, half Australian, but I sort of grew up in Bali, so it's like all over the place. I guess I lived near Amsterdam until I was about 11 years old, and both my parents are both chiropractors, so I'm like a chiro baby. And when I was 11 years old, they decided to take my little brother, who was 8 at the time, and me out of Holland to travel the world for a whole entire year. And as an 11-year-old girl, growing up in the West, for the first time, I realized that not the whole world was made up of little Hollands everywhere, I realized that the whole world was so different from Holland. And for the first time in my life, I interacted with different cultures. We went to countries like Nepal and India and Sri Lanka, and went to Australia. We went all over the world for a whole entire year with this little family of ours. And it was so beautiful, so magical, a really amazing experience for me. And both my parents were volunteering in the local schools in India as chiropractors. And Finn and I, of course, we created friends with the children in the playgrounds. And Finn and I, we loved it so much. Like we learned the local language, we ate the local food, we like learned the local dances. It became like our second home, you know. So we wanted to go back there each year because we loved it so much. So each year we would, you know, go back in the summers to India. My parents would volunteer as chiropractors again, and you know, it was our second home. And each year it was amazing. But at a certain time, of course, I turned 13. And when we went back to India to go see our friends again, we realized something quite strange because a lot of my friends weren't at school anymore. And I started asking around, like, you know, where are my friends? Like, I want to see them, you know, why aren't they at school? And then the teachers and the local people there told me that the government only pays for school fees and school uniforms up until they're 12 years old. But after 12, they stop with the school uniform contribution, which causes these enormous school dropout levels because without a school uniform, you're not allowed to go to school.
Wow.
I was like, wait, what? You know, as a 13-year-old girl, I was like, how come that my friends can't afford to pay for a $10 school uniform and they can't go to school? Like, that's insane. And then I asked them, like, you know, if my friends aren't at school, like, where are they now? And then they told me that most boys are either working in factories or, like, on the farm, and most girls are just staying at home, like, helping out in the house. And I'm like, but, you know, they should be able to go to school because education is so important. And that just put so many things for me into perspective for, like, you know, what I have been able to have growing up and how fortunate I am. So I started to design and sell T-shirts with my brother to pay for my friends' school uniforms. And that's how Nalu started. That's kind of like how everything got off the ground. So for every 4 products that we sell, we're able to give 1 school uniform. And Nalu means wave because we chose it because like a wave, we wanted to have a ripple effect throughout the world. And that's what we essentially think is the uniform because the uniform is a ripple effect that allows people to be able to go to school, and then education breaks the poverty cycle. And so it's like this little ripple that like reaches so many places. But it took us like 6 months to sell the first like 8 T-shirts. Like it was insane. Like I was only 13, my brother was 10. Like it took us such a long time to sell all these shirts. But then the next 40 T-shirts sold within like a month, and the next 800 sold within a couple of days. And my parents promised us to pay for the tickets from Bali to India to deliver our school uniforms if we were able to sell more than 200 T-shirts. So before we knew it, we were on our way to India to give our very first school uniforms. And the very first girl that received a uniform, her name was Pretty. And she was about to turn 13, so she would have to leave school. But when I gave her a uniform, this turned her whole entire life around because now she was able to stay in school. And it was like the first new thing that she'd ever owned. So she was just, like, I gave her the uniform and we like locked eyes. And in that moment, I knew that Nalu was going to work. It was kind of like this thing between us. And I just knew that it was going to work because now she was able to stay in school. And she was just so full of gratitude. And then she ran to the bathroom to slip into her new school uniform. And then she like walked across the red dusty school plane in her like new outfit. Like she was able to stay in school and she was just shining so bright. And that was the very first school uniform recipient. And she's actually in college now. Like she graduated high school and is studying in college, which is insane. It means that Nalu is actually working. And we've given over 10,000 uniforms since we started. So, you know, it's happening.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So are you with the uniforms? I know it's probably not just, you know, this one girl will get one uniform and she may have to, as she ages and grows, she may need to get new things. So you're constantly active in that community. Yeah.
We make sure that, so the children we give uniforms to are 12 and 13, like at the start, but then we stay with them until the end of their education so that they can graduate. You know, so if they need a new school uniform and they're 15, but we've been giving school uniforms to this very child since they were 12 or 13, like we make sure that we track them so that they can stay in school if they want.
Very cool.
Yes.
Let's say the young men or boys and girls, if you will, that are getting these uniforms, they grow out of them. Are they giving them to their friends?
They do. They don't throw
Yeah.
them away for sure. No, they get recycled or reused secondhand for sure.
Okay, so here's a different question. This is kind of interesting because you're 13 when this all started to play out. Selling T-shirts to buy school uniforms and making becoming this entrepreneur like out of gratitude. It's like, okay, we're just going to give back because you saw a need. And at 13, I'm thinking when I was 13, granted, I mean, the computers are very different and finding things was very different back then. But, how did you go about going, you know what? I want to find and make T-shirts. I'm going to, like this whole process of growing this thing, it seems like it happened pretty quickly. I know it's years now, it's 4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. But that's quick in the world of a business. And especially when you, when you're 13, 14, 15, that's a lot. So did you have any guidance? Did you have help? Were you kind of like the spearhead that kind of figured things out? How did it work?
I mean, now that I think back to it a lot because, I'm still 17, so I'm still young. But,
Yeah.
The experiences have, made me, I don't know, grow up faster, I guess. Not in a bad way at all, in a super, super good, positive way. I'm loving it. But, of course, doing something like running a business or going after your dreams or starting a business out of seeing a need, you need a team around you to support you. You cannot do anything by yourself. And I learned that very young. I remember just, being 13, my brother was 10, and it was very simple. We didn't really think about it. We were just we have to make shirts because we have to make money because we have to give them to our friends because otherwise they cannot go to school. It was a very, this is a need and this is what we have to do. But as it got bigger and as we started selling more and giving more, we realized that it was actually becoming something sustainable and something that was going to last long term. So for sure, we needed people on board. Of course, our friends joined and started helping out, but our parents were the most supportive people in the world. There was so much legal stuff that as a 13-year-old girl, 14, 15, 16, 17 even, I'm not even legally allowed to sign anything because I'm not even 18 yet, That's what my parents are super, super helpful for. And they're always the ones to make sure we're places driving us to and from the factories. They're always our biggest supporters, which is amazing. So make sure that you have your support team, whatever you're doing, if it's running a business or cooking classes or literally anything you're doing, just have your support team around you. So those were our big people, but then we also had amazing supporters from the industries itself, the fashion industry or the sustainable industries that have stepped up and started to help us, John Hardy, who's the founder of Green School, which is the school we went to, or Donna Karen from DKNY. They're all if you step up to do something, others will step up and help you as well. And that's what
that wave,
did.
Right? It's kind of like the wave, yeah.
Wave and the ripple effect, and it's all about just putting everything you have out there, and people will step up and support you. Don't be scared to put yourself out there.
Yeah. So this is good. So the audience that's listening is, I don't know if I have any 17-year-olds that listen, but I think this is very inspirational for, someone who's not 17, who's even, 18, 20, 30, 40, 50, to see that you don't need to, have everything in the world to be able to give everything. You saw a need as a 13-year-old and selling a T-shirt. How cool is that you're able to have this wave, this ripple start to go across not only the lives of people in India, and I'm not sure where else the mission starts to bring you at this point, but you're having a ripple effect in the fashion world, right? People are going, oh, this is pretty neat. This girl's or it's your brother, your family guys are going and bringing this to the U.S. and they're going, oh wow, maybe fashion is a little bit more than just making nice things. It's a giving business, right? Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, it is.
yeah. So if you were to, well, if you were, we'll get into that in a minute. I want to ask you about lifestyle in a minute, but the gratitude portion and is that something you were, brought up with? Is that like, just being a kid, you were just taught to be appreciative of things? Because that's, I see that, I don't see that very frequently, but you guys are a pretty unique group, your family.
I think, I mean, let me think about that. It's kind of like my parents. They're like the best, most beautiful people in the world. Like I have like so much to thank for them. Like they've brought me up in such a beautiful way, and I think that gratitude was always something that we shared between us. Like even before we went out and traveled. But the thing that really like hit me hard was like as an 11-year-old girl seeing the world, like I was still so young and I was exposed to so many different things at such a young age. And then growing up with these people and like sort of creating a relationship with like my Indian friends, and then realizing that they couldn't go to school because of a $10 school uniform, like that just put like everything that I've ever learned like into a different perspective. So it wasn't something that I really thought about, like, oh, I'm going to have gratitude now. Like, it was kind of like something that was there, and I couldn't do anything about it. Like, every time now as well that I sell a sweater like this, or I sell, like, a cap or anything, like a backpack, like, there is always this gratitude within me, like, for the person that's receiving the product and for them stepping up to be able to give a school uniform. Like, gratitude just flows through us, through the company, through the people, through what we make and what we give. I don't know, it's always just there.
Yeah, that's really what I, as a chiropractor myself, I've done what they call humanitarian trips. Like I've gone to Dominican Republic and Haiti and Africa. And what the greatest thing is, and that's just my experience, is, we kind of have in the West, you said the Western world, we have everything. We really do. I've heard people say, oh, first world problems, this type of thing. But when you go into these types of communities, like in the Dominican Republic and in Haiti and India, obviously, but from my experience, it's when you just give of yourself, the feeling, of someone being appreciative if you just giving of your time and your energy just to make someone else's life a little bit better is not something you can just get from like, me like, buying a car or something like that. Like that's exciting, but the gratitude is like this feeling it's indescribable, that just doesn't show up. And
it's so weird. Like it's like I've seen both worlds. Like it's weird because like one day you're like in this super fancy house hanging out with these incredible people, but like they're not more happy or sad than like the next day going to India to this huge house where like everyone's sleeping on the ground on concrete. Like, that was literally one day to the next for me. Like this was only when I was 14, 15, like one day you're like in this like fancy house and then literally the next day you're dancing in a little house where everyone's sleeping on concrete, like 100 girls all together. And like they are so happy, like if not happier than people that have it all,
yeah,
you have to put it all into perspective.
Yeah. And I think this is neat. When I would come back from these humanitarian trips, it was, I would come back and we'd be like in these homes in these towns where they're like cinder block with maybe a tin roof, no windows, no real door of any sort, and like a curtain maybe that was like, hand fastened. And you come back and we get to our hotel, which at the time was like a 2 or a 3-star hotel. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Can you believe that, we're complaining about like the water not being warm enough or cold enough. We're complaining about like air conditioning and like it just gave us a sense of reality is what it was, right?
What the beautiful thing is that like now with Nalu, like we go on giving trips every few months, once a year to India and once a year to Bali. So every 6 months we go on giving trips, and now we bring like young people, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13, 14, 15, like teenagers, we bring them on our giving trips. And these kids have never been outside of the US or outside of Europe. And it puts such a big perspective on their lives, and it's incredible to like see that again through their eyes, like their experiences.
Yeah.
Because that's what made me start Nalu, and that's what it's kind of shaped me, you know, when I was so young.
Yeah. So this is next. So you're saying you're bringing these kids over to give them this experience, which is really neat. And you started is it an online academy? Was it?
Yeah, it's called the Nalu Academy. So practically how it works is that it all started because kids, young people started asking me how they can help more. They were like, Dali, like, I already bought 4 products. I already gave a uniform, but I want to help more. How can I be a bigger part in this ripple effect? And I started coaching individual kids on how to take Nalu into their own communities and sell the product so that they could give more school uniforms. But then it just started becoming bigger and more kids started asking me. So then I thought, why not automatize it and put every single thing that I've ever learned or experienced onto a website called the Nalu Academy. And then kids can sign up for it and learn how to start their own business or how to run a social enterprise being a young person. Because these are skills like public speaking or communications or sales or social media. These are all things we're not really learning in today's schooling systems that we should be learning to thrive in today's society. So we set up the Nalu Academy as a way for kids to learn these skills that you can apply to anything in your life, not just Nalu. But they get to take Nalu into their own communities, into their own schools, into their parents' chiropractic offices, and sell Nalu products throughout the whole entire year. And then at the end of the year, they get to come to India with us and give the various school uniforms that they're personally responsible for giving. So yeah,
cool. That's really neat.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's such a neat experience. You know, like I didn't get to travel for a year, but I think I was probably 13 or 14 years old. I went to Europe for a month and got to travel around. I didn't get to have this really neat like experience, we'll say, like you did in India. But being able to bring kids that have not been outside of their very comfortable life, you know, to a place like India or Bali where like the poverty levels are very high. I think that alone, it's like just going to be like life changing. You know, that experience will never ever ever leave them. Even if they didn't do the academy, even if you just flew them over or they flew over and was with you, I think they would be blown away. But I think the academy is just like this huge bonus to help them grow as an individual. It's super cool.
I'm excited for this year. Actually, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to India, and we're having a lot of Nalu Academy students join us for the first time. So it's going to be a really good trip.
Very cool. So where do you see this venture? Where do you see Nalu kind of going and growing? Is it going to stay in those 2 parts of the world? Does it kind of have like sites on other places?
I mean, right now we're giving in India, in Kenya, and in Indonesia. So we're giving in 3 countries. But of course, I live in New York now, so we see each other every once in a while, which is good. But my family still lives in Bali, so it used to be kind of like on the brand aspect. It used to be very much a Bali brand, a surf brand, I guess kind of like a beachy type of brand. Mm-hmm. But now that I live in the city, and I'm going to Parsons right now, which is a design school, it's going to be changing a lot, like the branding aspect. We also have this really cool guy called Simon from Canada. He moved in with me, and he's our creative director. So we're really stepping it up on the branding side, because right now it's still very simple streetwear, but it's going to be moving forward very soon.
Cool. I think it's a really neat. You definitely have like definitely a niche for who's going to be wanting. I mean, I think it's real cool, from the hats to the shirts to the packs. I mean, it's even us old people, you know, even us old people think it's cool, you know. But definitely, I think you're definitely gonna, you know, living in New York is a different world. You know, you're living in every world essentially when you live in New York, so you get to see fashion, I guess, from every angle.
That is true.
Yeah,
it's very nice. I love it.
Very cool. So, And let's jump into lifestyle. I mean, the gratitude is the main reason I want to hear, because this is such an amazing story, and I think people need to hear this type of story to give them hope to maybe want to take that next step in giving, maybe to buy some Nalu gear, whatever it may be, just so they can start to give back and get that sense of giving and gratitude. But with all of this, I mean, 17 years old, you know, when I was 17, I mean, like, I had energy up the wazoo. I was on a ski team, like alpine skiing and so on and so forth. I was a very active person, but I mean, being that you live now, like you have this huge online brand that's personable in now multiple different countries. How do you kind of keep your head space in the right place when you got to be present for school, right? Your brain has to be working for school. You have a business. You got to take care of your health. You know, there's a lot of things that go into play here. So what do you do? What's kind of like some normal rituals, like for your mind health and your body health, that you do that are important on a regular basis?
I think it's all about self-care. You know, self-care is very much a hot topic right now, I think. And I've actually talked to a lot of my friends about it recently. Like, people are really, really stepping up about self-care, because I think it's all connected, you know, mind, body, spirit, everything that you're doing, it's all connected. So if you do one thing right, like, it sort of ticks all the boxes, I guess. But you have to balance it, of course, because I guess a lot of people in New York are very hard workers, and sometimes you can get in the habit of just working really hard and always being on and going to school and then coming home and doing the brand and then, like, staying up and, like, creating ideas and always being in this creative working mindset. But what I like to do for myself is I like to meditate at least like 10 minutes a day. It's really not that much. It's usually when I wake up, I just like play this meditation song, and then I visualize like my goals and what I want in life, because visualization is such an important key, and it's actually helped me like achieve the things that I want and make sure that I stay focused and aligned. So meditation very much like calms me down and like keeps me grounded, keeps me centered. I also really like to work out my body, because if I run, it's mainly running that I like to do. When I run, it like lets go of all my little, I guess not stress, but just like it keeps my mind like focused and awake. And I also really like just spending time with my friends, because sometimes I think spending time with your friends could be a waste of time if you're not doing anything productive, if you have things to do like homework or something like that. But I think spending time with friends is such an important thing, because it's so important for you to stay social and to have a good group of people around you that will support you through your ups and your downs. So I always make sure that I have enough friend time in me. And of course, since my parents are both chiropractors, I've always like gotten adjusted. So I make sure that stays in my daily, like not daily, but weekly routine. Yeah. Those are a couple things I do.
Good. I think you said something that's very important that a lot of people don't put into play, and is social is community. And that doesn't necessarily mean social networks, right? It doesn't mean being on Facebook or Instagram, being social. It means actually having human interaction and being around other people, right?
I know that people are busy, but that's why what I like to do is I like to have busy friends too. So I surround myself with people that have the same passions as me and have very much a driven sort of personality. So even if we're all together, like we're all together and we're just like all supporting each other to make sure that every single one of us can reach their dreams. So it's not like I'm hanging out with people that don't do anything, you know. Find your people that you love that are similar to you, and like make sure that you spend time with them, even if it's just like grabbing lunch every once in a while, or just sitting on your bed and talking about your life. Like literally make sure that you get the social part in there, because it's so important, and these people will be there for you as much as you'll be there for them.
Awesome. So last question. How do people find you and connect with you and your brand? What's the best way? We're going to put all these links into our show notes, but I want to make sure you're saying it.
Many different ways that you connect with us.
Give us the best few. How about that?
With me, like personally, like me, Dali, on my Instagram best, which is Dali Schonfelder. It's just my name. And then you can connect with us at Nalu at www.nalu.com, which is our website. And then you can also email us or follow our Instagram as well. Yeah, those are the best.
Perfect. I think this would be a great connection. And what we're going to do, I want to drop these links in the show because I want, as a responsible person, I guess wherever you are in the world, I'm not sure if you can ship anywhere in the world, but wherever you're listening from, go on to nalu.com, grab a T-shirt, grab a sweatshirt, grab something, because you know that one little thing you're doing right then and there is going to make a difference in a child's life. It's going to help them get to school. It's going to keep them out of working in a factory, God forbid, at 13 years old, and keeping girls away from like all the bad things I've seen, unfortunately, like with young women in lots of these poverty areas. So you're saving a life, right?
Yeah, you're changing their life forever.
Very
and
cool.
these are things that you need anyway. Like everyone has a sweater, everyone's wearing clothes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're trying to like blend it into your daily rituals. You don't have to go out of your way to donate to something. Like you're just buying a sweater for you or your friend.
Yeah. So go out and do that, people. Come on. This is, you're saving people's lives. And I would also recommend if you're listening, you have kids that are that you want to connect with Dali, definitely look into her Nalu Academy, because you may be able to shift the trajectory of your child's future. I mean, you spoke at the UN. I mean, how many kids get to do that? How many people get to do that are not part of the UN?
Yeah, for sure. Check out the Nalu Academy. The kids that we have in it now, they're all loving it. We do bi-weekly webinars, so I just chat with them for an hour every 2 weeks, and it's super fun. There's a link on the nalu.com website, and then we'll have a little chat about it.
Awesome. So Dali, this is good. I'm glad we got you on. I know it's been a little time in the making, but this is good. I can't wait to see the evolution and the growth as New York kind of pierces your soul and your skin a little bit here, because it is a crazy place. But I think it's going to do cool things with you, and you're going to do great things with Nalu with it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys for listening. You guys are awesome.
So Locker Nation, I hope you are as inspired as I am listening to Dali on Lifestyle Locker Radio. This young woman, a student in college in New York City, has already had a company that's impacted thousands of young kids in third world countries like Kenya and Mumbai and India and Indonesia. This is amazing. Thousands of kids are off the street getting an education, so they're not getting pregnant at 13 and 14 years old, so they can actually break free from the cycle that they've been living in these areas for so long. So she's making a huge global impact. So I'm very proud of her. And she's also inspiring young entrepreneurs that want to do good for this world. This is really great. So if you're someone listening and you have a child that you want to become an entrepreneur, to be someone that's going to be able to give back to this world in a very positive way, you should definitely check out Dali. All of her details about her courses she's giving, about Nalu, will all be in the show notes. So make sure you do connect with her, and make sure you connect with us as well. If you're not already a fan, on our Facebook page, Lifestyle Locker, right? Facebook.com/Lifestyle Locker. And you can also find us at lifestylelocker.com. Me at Dr. Josh Han on Instagram. I love to share with you. I love to communicate with you. We're an ever-growing community right now. So have an awesome day, awesome evening, awesome morning whenever you're listening to this. And make sure you are sharing these episodes with people you care about.